Good evening. I would like to call the Special Call Transition City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, if you mind calling the roll call, please.
The Honorable Michael Owens.
Present.
The Honorable Ron Davis, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Tony Olordapo, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Keisha Jeffcoat, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable Patricia Alp, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable T.J. Ferguson, District 5.
Present.
The Honorable Deborah Herman, District 6.
Present.
Thank you. Have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If we could have, is Pastor Boyd still in the house? He is not. With that said, with that said, Dr. Williams, would you like to lead the invocation, please?
Surprise.
I get my mind in order
You keep it short and sweet, it's fine.
for this occasion.
We have a podium. Always, always.
This brother here smiling. Okay, but on a serious note, what I'd simply ask us all to do is to defer to whomever we regard as our God, whomever that may be, that we all defer to him at this moment. And simply ask that whoever he or she is guides this meeting and also invest in us the sense of community as we gather tonight to listen and participate in the business of the city. These things I ask in whomever our gods may be.
Thank you, sir. And we're going to move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Ferguson, would you mind leading us in Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item we have is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I move that we accept, with the exception that we move the executive session to the end of the meeting so we don't keep everyone waiting like we've done in the past, probably after the city council comment section. And also, if we're also able to move the approval of resolution for the GMA training, if we're able to move that forward, because that seems to be top of mind for many people, so we have enough time to discuss and come to a conclusion on that.
I second.
So we have a motion to move, we have a motion to change the actual agenda to move the executive session to the end after comment, after mayor and council comments, and to move item 8E to in front of 8A in new business. Any discussion on this matter? With no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you. We'll move forward with the agenda with those exceptions. Madam Clerk, that takes us to item 6, which is public comment. Do you have public comment cards? And if so, could you proceed with public comment?
Yes, I have public comment, but do we have any officials in the audience you want to recognize, Mayor?
We do have, as I look around the room, one that I know of is the mayor of the city of South Fulton, Mayor Khalid. Thank you for being here, Mayor Khalid. We do appreciate having you here with us today. Collaboration and partnerships with all of our cities, not only in Cobb County, but in Metro Atlanta is very important to this council. So thank you for being here.
Okay, and then we have Trey Hutchins with the Board of Education.
Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor Owens, and Mableton. I just want to give you a quick education update as we are out of school and entering the summer and preparing for school. The Cobb County School District approved our annual operating budget of $1.5 billion just recently, and we have, as a board, been sensitive to the higher property assessments that residents are seeing around the county. And as a result, we were responsible for rolling back the millage by 0.2, which is some relief. Not a lot of relief, but it is some relief. And this is our first rollback in decades. So I just wanted to first say thank you for comments that I read in regards to the city of Mableton holding fast in regards to the millage and no future assessments as of right now. And so we appreciate that as we are seeing assessments high across the county. Updates on capital projects at Pebblebrook High School. We are at the end of the $65 million renovation project at Pebblebrook High School with the completion of our field house, our state-of-the-art theater, 3,500-seat gymnasium, 2-story classroom addition, and also the frontage of Pebblebrook High School is also getting renovations and improvements, and those things are set to be completed by the time school starts in August. So we are excited that those splash projects are at the finalization. We will no longer be overcrowded by 800 students at Pebblebrook High School. So thank everyone for the EdSplosh passing, and that is how we're able to get some of these things done. Communities in Schools, which is a nonprofit organization that supports dropout prevention in schools, has now expanded into Cobb schools, specifically into our area where they're going to be supporting our elementary, middle, and high schools to ensure that we are wrapping services around students and families that need it. They operate on a whole child model, and so they don't just support the child, they support also the families that are attached to that child as well. And so we're excited through their partnership with the Cobb County and ARPA funds that they're able to expand into our schools. So Pebblebrook High School, South Cobb High School, elementary and middle schools that feed into those schools as well. Remember, we do have new principals at Riverside Elementary, also at Sanders Elementary, and so in the near future, sometime in the month of July, we will be pulling together a brunch of some sorts for City Council, our elected officials, to come and meet our new principal leaders in within our city limits. Lastly, principals. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I'd like to acknowledge that we have our police chief, Cobb County Police Chief, Chief Vance, who's here tonight. Chief, do you have any words?
Hey, I'll just say good evening, everybody. I went to South Carolina High School, went to Floyd Middle School. My wife went to Floyd Middle School with me. She was a few years younger than me, but that's okay. Just proud of the movement here in Mableton. I've worked here at this precinct, have a very deep burden, I'll say, for this area. Very moved by our obligation to protect the citizens in this area and to build trust at the same time, which I think is one and the same thing. So we're here just to show our support, and I'll happily meet with anybody if you have any questions about us, but we're really here just to show our support. My Deputy Chief Ben Cohen is here, and the commander of the precinct, Matt Hurst, is also here. So we're at your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have Brenda Nash to speak. if she'll come forward. And then after Brenda Nash, we have Anne Marie Winters. And remember, there's a 2-minute time limit. Thank you.
I don't have much to say, so we're good. I just want to thank each of you guys for all the work that you are doing. This is no way meant to be a criticism in any way, but I'm just anxious and awaiting our website so that we can start hearing information, staying up to date. We were all so excited about becoming a city, and it's like all of a sudden crickets and nobody knows what's going on. And I know you guys are working hard behind the scenes. We just don't have a way of knowing what's going on. So just as quick as we can get the website up, that would be wonderful to keep us up to date. And on the same note, I attended a zoning meeting yesterday at Cobb County, and I do realize the city's got a long way to go before we pick up zoning. But if you're not, and you probably are, but if you're not active in the cases that are going on now, it still affects the city of Mableton, and it's going to affect our future. So I would encourage you, if you're not already, everyone in the room, including the city council member, please get involved in zoning matters. They're so important. And the Mableton Improvement Coalition do a wonderful job of trying to keep us all informed, but unless we're voicing our opinion, our commissioners don't know what we want. And it's very important that the city council let them know what you want, what you envision for Mableton, and make sure that the next how long it takes, up to 2 years, that we're making the choices now that's going to affect us from going forward. So, thank you.
Anne Marie Winters.
Thank you, council members, Mr. Mayor. I commend you on what you're doing and the rapidity with which you are doing it, because I know there's so much to do to establish a city in such a short amount of time. I read through the ordinances, and I did it fairly quickly, but what I would recommend is that someone be tasked with reading through them and paying special attention to definitions and, where necessary, limitations. Excuse me. One that I was noticing, this is in, I think it's the first one. Anyway, it's defining financial institutions. And some of this can be my ignorance and not really understanding it. But to me, it's not that clear, because when you define a bank, it's any financial institution chartered under the laws of any state or under the laws of the United States, blah, 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 with a corporate structure authorizing the issuance of capital stock. I don't think this addresses electronic banking. And I think you need to look at that and any other areas in which maybe they need to be better defined, more inclusive of what the options are today, because the world has changed. And I know a lot of people do electronic banking. I do. And I also bank with some organizations that are not a bank per se. So that's really my only suggestion, is that someone carefully review your ordinances, be sure that the definitions are clear, as well as the limitations being clear. And then it will make it a lot easier going forward, so that everyone knows, I guess, make it a level playing field, so that everyone knows all of the rules and regulations under which we're operating. Thank you.
I do not have any more cards.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would like to then circle back around and allow Mayor Khalid to have a word, please, if you don't mind, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and constituents. It is not every day that you get to witness the birth of a city. It is so exciting. I really just came, I was so excited to see this. I want to first congratulate all of you active and engaged citizens. I wanted to hear the public comments and encourage you all to continue doing exactly what you have been doing. As someone who has undergone this, I've been watching from afar, and you all have had a much more democratic process. So I want to especially thank Mayor Owens for that, but just continue to do things as you've been doing, continue being democratic and diplomatic. And if you lean not on your own understanding, but the will of the constituents that have put you all here, I think that you all will continue to do excellent work. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, any more public comment cards?
I do not have any more cards.
Okay. With that, we'll close out public comment, and we'll move forward to item number 7. Madam Clerk, is there any old business that needs to be addressed?
There's not any old business.
No old business. We'll move forward to item 8 on the agenda for a new business. As we approved earlier in the meeting, we will start with item 8A, which is the approval of the resolution authorizing deferred cost for Mableton City Council members and the mayor to participate in statewide Georgia Municipal Association training. So with that, I would like to go ahead and open up for any discussion that we may have on that. And I think I'd like to start with Madam Attorney. You had some comment related to this?
Yeah, so I'll just clarify what this document is. Thank you. So this is a resolution where we're asking the council to accept deferred costs that have been proposed and presented by GMA, the Georgia Municipal Association, for its annual convention that's occurring actually in a couple of days in Savannah, Georgia. So just to give you context on what the annual convention is, it is a multiple day local government retreat in the sense that local governments from likely every city in the state of Georgia convene and descend at this particular location annually just for this convention. I will say that it is a retreat in the sense that, I mean, I represent multiple governments, elected officials, and I know that elected officials are often just, underappreciated and overworked, and a lot of times they just don't get to do fun things. So in a sense, it's a retreat in the sense that it's one of your opportunities to actually do something that is a little bit fun, but I think more than the fun component, because you have to also look at the business aspect of it. There are 4 primary reasons that this is that I recommend this retreat. The first reason is that, and if you look at GMA's website, when you go to the website, the very first thing they say is that this is unrivaled training, and it's unrivaled in the sense that you will have seldom opportunity to have so many topics that are available to you in one sitting. So if GMA gives you the opportunity to potentially get in some of these topics, I would highly recommend you take advantage of that. I do know that GMA is doing training next month for the council, but I've been working and collaborating with GMA, and I can tell you that your training next month is going to be, it's going to be 101. Like, what do you absolutely need to know as a council member so that you are able to do function-wise what's going to be expected of you immediately, but it's not going to be the larger, broader training that may be specific to your jurisdiction, which could be training on development authorities, on transportation issues, on railroad issues, just things that may be impacting your particular residents. So I think that first component is that I do agree with GMA that this is unrivaled training and that the scope of what's available to you will be substantially extended if you consider this training. And I think the second component, which I think is also substantial, is that you get real-time engagement with other elected officials, which is every elected official almost in the state of Georgia, which gives you the opportunity to talk to in one room, elected officials from Brookhaven, from Peachtree Corners, from the city of South Fulton, from Stonecrest, and these are your more recently incorporated cities, and say, what was successful for you? What were your hardships? What are the issues that you confronted or you ran into? So I think that real-time engagement with other elected officials will allow you to potentially avoid some hiccups or bumps in the road that you might be confronted with as you go along with your duties for Mableton. I think what's also significant is that there is a trade show that is offered during this convention. And this trade show is specifically tailored by the Georgia Municipal Association to bring to you services and products that are specifically designed for municipalities. These are innovative products. They're services that they have two basic intentions. They're designed to enhance municipal operations and then also enhance residential quality of life. So they will have literally almost everything you can think of inside a very, very large conference room with multiple rows where you just go up and down these rows and you look at these innovations and you can say, okay, is this something that I think the residents of Mableton would like? So I do think that trade show is a very nice component of it. And I think the fourth component is that GMA is a nonprofit. And they make a lot of decisions that affect Georgia municipalities. They offer, they are the primary facilitator of local government insurance, of local government council defense work, as far as making sure that there are policies in place where they will assign insurance counsel to you for certain premiums. When you engage in litigation, they do a lot of tax services for municipality. I think they are the undisputed #1 source of assistance for municipalities in Georgia, and they are run because they are a nonprofit by officers, and those officers are actually elected officials and municipal officials. So we have been able to get GMA to agree to extend your ability to vote and participate. So if any of you wanted to actually run for office, you could, but at a minimum, you get to have a voice. So they have agreed to give Mableton a voice this year in who you elect for participation as these officers, and the people who you elect are going to be extremely critical and important because they are going to set the premiums that you have to pay on a lot of these services that GMA would provide for you. So I think those are some of the benefits. Now, I do know that the benefits are kind of weighed by the fact that you are brand new and you are just getting organized. So I think it's a cost-benefit analysis. In my opinion, I think it's worth it because I just don't feel like you can ever have too much education, especially on issues that are not familiar to you. So I would say if they're willing to defer the costs, I don't think that their costs are so substantial that it would be unreasonable, but of course it's the council's discretion, but they are willing to defer those costs because they do know that because you were in your infancy stage, you were just getting that influx of money coming in. So they are willing to defer those costs.
And if I am correct, they've also deferred the first year dues payment for us this year as well.
Okay, so they did not communicate. They did tell me that they deferred the training costs for July as well as the convention costs, but they didn't speak to me about that, but that's great if they're willing to also defer those costs.
No, they're not deferring those costs. They are not charging us for the
wow,
first year's dues
okay.
at all.
Okay,
Yes.
well, that's even better. But I will say that I did ask GMA if they could quantify. So we did put the resolution out because I thought it was significant for at least the council and the public to at least see what we were proposing. But I asked GMA to give me full information as to what the anticipated deferred cost for the annual convention was, at least by today. And I got a text by general counsel for GMA, and I also know that certain council members were able to pull information too. I think Councilwoman Jeff Coate and the mayor, but they text me today and they said that the approximate cost would be about $815 a council member for your participation. So that would be the deferred component. So you'd have two components. You'd have your deferred component, which means that they wouldn't charge you And that $815 would include your ability to vote in the election and participate in the election, to participate in the conference, to participate in the trade show, and to participate in the training that you elect, whether it's a 3-hour training or a 6-hour course training, it's your discretion. And if you take 3 instead of 6, that cost will go down, I think, by like $100. But it's approximately $815 a council member. And then the second component of your costs would be reimbursements. And that's because normally cities budget for training, and it's not a reimbursable cost. It's just a budgeted cost where the city says that we're going to conduct this training. We pay for it in advance, and it's already set up. But because you don't have your budget set up yet, and because you're just getting that initial seed money, you have to do it in the form of a reimbursement. So that's going to be like your hotel, your food, your travel costs. So that would be determined by your charter. And your charter says that you can have that expense up to $5,000 for the mayor and up to $3,000 for each council member. And with respect to what is allowable within that, your charter is not very specific, and that's because that category is so broad. It's basically anything that's incurred or necessarily associated with your duties that are carried out as a council member. So that could be 1,000 things, literally. So the state doesn't attempt to try to confine it or define it. But just keep in mind, if someone challenged you on it, they would want to know, is it reasonably part of your duties? So things that are typically reasonably part of duties are hotel, food, travel reimbursements. But I think the main component is that you do not exceed the amounts that have already been set by your charter, which is the $5,000 for the mayor and the $3,000 for the council members, and that's specific to reimbursements. And then the deferred costs wouldn't be under your reimbursement category because those would actually be paid by the city as part of your budget once we're able to establish your budget. And GMA has agreed to defer those costs until you get that initial seed money and establish your budget.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else have any discussion?
I think the only question I have, as we continue to say the word deferred, once we get things set up, I mean, is that a 30-day deferral, is it a 60, 90? Like, is there a time that we need to realize that we need to be able to pay them after we start to receive revenue?
So my specific discussion with them was not a specific timeline. Actually, they mentioned next year. So they did not give us specific as far as 30, 60, 90.
Got it, thank you.
I have a question. Madam Attorney, are you saying that GMA said that it would be 800 and, the figure that you, 800 and, what was it? $15 per participant, including all of the courses over the 3 days? I know it's a 4-day thing, but I think classes are only offered on 3 of those days.
Yes, that is correct, and I have it in writing, so if they change their mind, I can just show them, look, this is what your general counsel sent. But the information that he provided was $450. So there is actually a late fee if you register late, but they're not going to charge it to you because they understand that you were incorporated, I mean, not incorporated, but your election occurred late and you were certified late. So they're not going to charge you any of the elevated costs for late registration. So his communication to me, the chart he provided me was, and then he said, I can pull up his text, he said.
Are you referring to the GMA convention that's this next couple days? Or are you talking about next month, the training they were discussing, just for clarification?
So I'm talking about the convention.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so he said the registration is $450 per person. And he said training classes will be $295 for 6-hour or $180 for 3-hour. So it would be that $450 and then plus the $295. And then if you went to the awards ceremony, that would include.
That's another 65.
Yeah, it's 65, but the total of that is where I got the approximate 815 amount.
But wouldn't that only be for one class, though? Because the $290 is per class, and there's 3 days worth of classes.
No, so your training, you have the choice to either do a 3-hour training class or a 6-hour training class. So the 6-hour training class would have multiple topics. So you would be able to pick and choose which you prefer to go to, but it wouldn't be 6 hours of the same topic.
Right, no, I understand that, but there's courses offered on Friday, Saturday, and I think it's Tuesday, right? So are you, I'm just trying to understand, are you saying that the price is for one course on either of those days? Or is it just the price per course, and then we have the choice to decide whether we're going to take a course on each one of the days that it's available?
Yeah, so if you go outside of the 6-hour course and the 3-hour course, there would be an additional fee.
Yes.
So if you decide, and that's within the council's discretion, but just keep in mind that if you decided to do that, then it would go up. Whether you did a 3-hour course, it would go up by $180 a council member. And if you did a 6-hour course another day, it would go up by $295. But the budget that he provided to me anticipated that you would take either the 6-hour, the 3-hour, that you would participate in the award ceremony, the trade show, the election, and the opening ceremony.
Yeah. So I think for clarity, we could, you could potentially take 3 to 4 classes while you're there if you took every slot that was available.
Right. The maximum.
Yeah, yes, if you took every slot that you possibly could. I think there's clarity on the fact, though, that because we were late in this, is that we're on the wait list for most of those classes as well. But yeah, for clarity's sake, it could be the 190 times 3 if you were to fill each slot.
Okay, all right. Well, I think my concern is that we don't have a roadmap in terms of how many classes are going to be taken, because the 815 sounds great, but that's only if you're taking one course. But if you all elect to take, courses on the other days, that will be either, the 290 or, the price per course. So that 815 will go up, and nothing's been articulated in terms of how many classes are going to be taken. And my concern has always been that GMA has already offered their resources for a one-on-one training with the entire council 3 weeks after the conference. So, and these courses that they're offering during that time are basic courses that they said would be helpful for us as a newly forming city. So I'm thinking, and I appreciate the break and the fun and everything. I'm thinking about the bottom line in terms of what we're going to be responsible for repaying, because if they're already giving us the necessary courses that we really need in a few weeks after the conference, I'm not understanding the goal of attending the conference, especially when we're factoring hotel costs, we're factoring in food costs, we're factoring transportation costs, and what they're willing to offer in 3 weeks is a $750 per day over 2 days, or if we elect to do 3 days, but I think it's 2 days. So we're talking about $1,500 or so for 2 intensive days worth of training for the entire council versus whatever the cost is going to be for the conference and all of the resulting expenses that go along with that.
So I had an opportunity to speak with and work with GMA directly. We were able to collaborate and talk about why it's significantly important for our city council members to make sure that we have training so that we are effective and efficient at the jobs that we need to do. And I appreciate Councilwoman Herndon's perspective. Obviously, there's some juxtapositions between, what our viewpoints are, which I think is normal, because if we agreed on everything, that would be a little odd. But I spoke with GMA, and they informed me that there is a distinct difference between the 2 trainings. So the trainings that we receive at the GMA convention are more in-depth, and they, not just the training itself, but we'll have an opportunity, as Attorney Walker mentioned, to collaborate and meet with experienced council officials who can share their recommendations, their experiences with us, because we're new at this, right? This is the first time. All of us have great skill sets and experiences and that sort of thing that may be transferable into this role, but we don't have experience with building a city from the ground up. And so it is paramount that we get the necessary training so that we can make those decisions, because tough decisions, because municipality can become complex. And so I had an opportunity to speak with our representative, and he provided a statement saying that the convention trainings are taught by experts in the specific topics and go far more in depth, excuse me, than our planned orientation retreat. And there are a good number of topics, the networking, vendors, and other offerings that were mentioned by Attorney Walker at convention are invaluable to those willing to use them and learn from them. The orientation retreat will focus on team building, basic training in core areas, and planning. The two offerings are completely different. Priorities are set by council. Training is invaluable. I believe training is good debt, and we'll get our return on investment over the long term.
Well, I was also at the meeting with the GMA where Larry Hansen said that attending the conference should not be a priority for us based on the city's financial situation. So he did say that in terms of what our priorities should be, which is part of the reason why they were open to offering a less expensive alternative for us to get the basic training that we need since we're forming the city, in addition to being open to offering their resources. He said we could call them, they could make recommendations for people who we could meet, and these are recommendations that are free of cost. And then we also have a mandatory a mandatory training that's going to be happening in January. So my thing is, like, it's not that I don't see the value of a conference, but as a new city who, as far as I know at this point, doesn't even have a bank account, I'm not exactly sure that focusing on the conference should be our priority versus getting the necessary training we need, having the mandatory training, and then perhaps next year, when we actually have a budget and we actually have revenue and we actually have numbers that we can look at, then maybe that's something that we can all attend.
Yeah, I think that training is continuous, right? And so it's important for us to, I don't think it's either or, right? And so it's in addition to. And so the training that we get at the convention and the training that we get potentially in the retreat is going to be good for us, right? Because you got to look at the risk of us not having the training. So not having the training could very well mean that we could make a misstep in our decision making. And so I think we both agree that training is needed. It's just the approach and how we go about that. And I believe that GMA will offer us a lot more in terms of giving us the skill set that we need and the knowledge base, and then also those courses that we take at GMA are certified. So Municipality 101, yes, we can get that from the manual that GMA has, but if we want a little bit more in-depth training, I think that attending the conference is the way to go, and the fees that we incur at the conference are nominal in comparison to the misstep that we could potentially make if we don't get the necessary training that we need.
So this training at GMA is a little more advanced than where we're at right now. Going to the convention in Savannah is very expensive. The hotel costs, the travel. The maximum amount of benefit you can get is 12 hours of training. That isn't very much. You have 5 days. What is it, five nights? I'm not even sure. You guys leave tomorrow? And we're just now approving this tonight. We don't even have an established operating budget. And the cost to benefit, we can get a maximum of 3 classes. I think there could be a benefit as far as for networking, but maybe in the future. Where we are at right now as a city, I think we can get a better bang for our buck waiting for next month with GMA, which is the same organization. We're not just abandoning GMA. And I'm Notice in this resolution, it doesn't even mention the training for next month. So I don't know why we're here tonight talking about GMA, and we're only focusing on what's going to happen literally tomorrow. I think we need to be having a little more forethought of how much we want to allocate to training with our budget, and we can start talking about that tonight.
Do we have an estimate on, because I know Amelia covered the $815 for participation, how much would it cost for each council person to board, feeding, travel? Do we know?
Yeah, so I was able to pull together a conference cost estimate, so you can pass that down.
I think I want to take a moment and kind of reaffirm what the attorney said. As we're looking at this budgeting item here, this budgeting is specifically speaking about the GMA conference fees that GMA has deferred payment to us on. It is not talking about the expenses, which comes from a completely separate budget that in a lot of ways has already been pre-funded. As mentioned, as mayor, I get $5,000, each council member gets $3,000, which does not need a vote on because it's already been passed as part of the charter itself. So the way this is written up, the expenses that we are talking about, the deferred fees, outside of the fees that they have already waived, the late fees that they've already waived, is specifically related to the conference registration, the classes, the sessions, and the luncheon. Those are the specific fees that we're talking about being deferred, not the total amount of conference expenses, because again, those come out of a separate, different fund.
Yeah, thank you.
I also want to add that as far as lodging is concerned, I understand everyone's concerned about costs and us clearly defining what our budget goals are and those sorts of things. We did get the lodging at a lesser rate, and I won't actually be staying at the hotel. So just to minimize some of that cost, I'll be staying with family. So that'll reduce some of the costs in that area.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So we're looking at about $10,000 for about 4 attendees. I just cannot justify this because we have, just like the other councilwomen have said, we have a training by GMA, which is the same organization, for 2 days, just focusing on us and helping us with everything that we need to hit the ground running. Can we possibly, I mean, I understand that the reason why why Amelia is recommending this is because of the training that is organized by experts. Can we see if GMA is willing to have those experts train us as well? Maybe schedule some time to get that in-depth training that we're hoping to get at the conference, because this is just a lot based on the city's financial standing. I just cannot justify this.
And I think the piece that what you just said, we then have to start to think about the cost that we're going to incur by asking them to come out for a quote-unquote special training session just for us. We've already got them to do the basics, the bare bones. This is how you are a city. I don't believe that they are going to, when we do something in July, once we get it solidified, which is the reason why it's probably not on any of the dockets, but being able to come in and say, how do I ensure that we're working with the media properly? How do we ensure that we're working with levying taxes and the fees and some of the different things that we need to go look for? Those are things that we're not necessarily going to get from that 101 training that we're looking to do sometime in July at some point. We need to focus on every single opportunity that we have to get trained by people who understand what they're doing. And I want to make sure that everybody in the room is also clear that as we're talking numbers, the entire council is not going to be there. So the numbers that we're talking about are much less than what it would be if it was for all 7 of us. We're basically looking at 4 of us that are going to be, that would be there. So the cost is much less than what it could be.
It could be more. The reason it is less is because I was not going to go on this trip if it was not pre-approved which it was not approved, it still isn't until the day before. It's tomorrow. This should have been on the agenda last month.
Well, I think it was a yeoman's effort by Mayor and Councilwoman Jeffcoat and everybody else to try to figure out if we could even go. And
Right, it was-
yes, unfortunately, it has been a very hurried situation, but unfortunately, so has this whole city council race. So we've got to do things kind of on the fly. And if we look at the cost-benefit analysis of being able to say it makes sense to do this, to then do a train-the-trainer type of situation, bring information back, continue to make sure that everybody on the council gets the knowledge, that is key.
I would like to say that this is an annual convention. It's not like it's a one-time opportunity that we will never get again. Our city is getting started up, and we will grow with our city, and we can grow with the education we need to run our city. I don't think, we can't.
You're right, it is an annual conference, but at the same time, you know, we're building a city right now. So we have to get smart, quick, and fast as we're making these decisions. And so that's why it's vital that we continue to get the training that we need.
Can you tell me what training class you believe is necessary that you will be taking at GMA conference? For an example, just to give us an idea of what it is that is so pertinent that we must have it now.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of trainings that are on the GMA schedule at the convention, specifically ethics. That's one of the ones, and they have a whole list of trainings for newly elected officials that we need to take. And so there are a lot of different ones. And this is just building, not foundationally what we need to know, but it's a continuous, it's going to be continuous improvement. As we go along, we'll continue to learn, and the more we learn, the more we'll be able to answer some of those difficult questions that we need to answer for our city.
Was ethics not one of the courses that were mentioned to be next month?
Exactly.
That was just an example, but again, I mean, you're not going to learn everything in one class for ethics. You're building upon that.
You've also got municipality law.
There's so many different courses.
I actually have the course book here.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it brings a lot of value talking about course by course.
No.
There are 12 to 14 courses that are outlined specifically for new council members in new cities.
We're not even guaranteed to get in those courses as they are filled, and we can only take a maximum of 12 hours total out of this course book.
And as Councilman Ferguson said, look, it is optional to go. This is not a mandatory requirement training. Not all council members are going. Some may not be going because of conflicts. Others may not be going because they do not want to go. But at the end of the day, it is not mandatory. It's a choice on whether you would like to go and receive this training or not. If there's further discussion, I'm happy to entertain it. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda item.
And Mayor, can I just provide clarification so that everyone's clear what they're voting on?
Yes.
So you would be voting, if 4 council members go, you would be voting to defer $3,300 in costs. And if 7 council members go, you would be voting to defer $5,775 in costs.
And this doesn't cover anything about next month's training.
No, it does not.
And then if you don't have to put a cap in there, but if you want to put the cap, I'm just telling you what the number would be. So if it's 4 of you, it would be, because this resolution does not include your expense allowance. Your
Correct.
expense allowance is your own individual discretion. You can use it for anything in the performance of your duties, whether you want to use it for GMA, for something further down the line. You don't have a restraint as long as it's within the course of your official duties and it doesn't exceed the amount that the charter designates to you. So this does not touch the expense allowance. This is strictly the deferred costs.
Well, the way that I look at it is this, is that GMA is offering us the courses that we need as a newly forming city next month. Courses such as transportation and, how to, get diversity in a, growing city. Those things are important, but right now we don't have a website. we don't have phones, we don't have a building, I feel like there's a lot of other things that we could be focusing our energy on, especially since the conference is offered next year, and we have 2 opportunities between now and the beginning of next year to have training, and we have also have an open door policy with GMA where they're willing to meet us in our place of need in order to accommodate what it is that we need. So I just feel like, I also, feel like to spend that type of money, I'm looking here at, $10,000, and then when we can get the training for $750 over, per day for a 2-day period, where we can cover ethics, where we're going to be covering municipality law, and as a matter of fact, GMA said whatever courses we feel that we need, they're waiting to hear from us so that they can create an agenda and a curriculum for us in 3 weeks. Right. So I feel like it's unnecessary expense at this juncture, especially given the fact that we have so many other things that we need to accomplish, and going away for a conference where you're going to have 1 class a day when we can get everything that we need in 3 weeks. I just don't think it's a wise use of resources or funding.
I would also like to state that the GMA also partners with the Carl Vinson Institute, and there's even online options that wouldn't even incur hotel, food, and travel costs.
Thank you. Councilman
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I just want to make a comment quickly, because I do understand both sides of this argument. Believe me, being a former banker, I believe in cost savings and being fiscally responsible. What kind of disturbs me, though, is that we talk about the next month class giving us the basics. And the only problem I have with that right now is that we are launching a city. We're trying to start a city. If as a soldier, I wouldn't want to go on a dangerous mission with somebody just out of basic training. I want to have the right training. We need to do this. We need to do this as efficiently as possible, but you get what you pay for. Now, again, I'm not one who believes in spending money recklessly, but at the same time, we're at a critical juncture here in starting this city, and we can make this city something that's really, we can all be proud of, but we're going to, I was going to say put some skin in the game, but somebody might take that wrong, but we've got to be willing to do what's necessary so that we can do this as council people, as a mayor, as efficiently as possible. I'm a big believer in training. I stake my business on proper training, and I don't believe that a city or even a business can be really successful without that particular component. If we're wanting Mableton, in my opinion, to be the city that we say we want it to be, we need to, this is something we, I think, should really consider. But in all due respect to those, my council, fellow council members that have kind of some trepidation about this, I do understand that, but you do get what you pay for. If we wanted this city to be what we really say we want it to be, it's going to take a little more than just the basics. And I'll be quiet.
Thank you, Councilman Davis.
And I also want to add that just because our focus is on actually getting training and going to GMA doesn't necessarily negate the fact that we aren't focusing on the other priorities of the city. So we know we need a website. We know we need all those things. We are cognizant of that in addition to the training.
I would like to say that we're not suggesting that we defer, not have training. It's maybe plan something a little in the future, something where the entire council can attend, so the entire council can have training. That's it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Mayor, I'd like to offer up a motion to approve the resolution authorizing deferred costs for Mableton City Council members to participate in statewide GMA training.
I second.
Okay, that called the question. All those in favor of approval of resolution authorize deferral costs for City of Mableton council members and participate in statewide Georgia Municipal Association training, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. With that, Madam Clerk, we are approved. The nays for that vote was Councilman Herndon, Councilwoman Ogg, and Councilwoman Olidapo. I'd like to move to the order of business item 8A, which is the first read of the ordinance. Madam Attorney, would you like to give an overview of this ordinance, please?
Yes, the first read is the ordinance creating Chapter 1, General Government, Article 1, General Provisions of the City of Mableton Code of Ordinances, and Attorney Walker will help us.
Yes, Mayor, and for clarification, that first read just means that this is the first time that this is presented to the council. Your charter requires 2 reads for all ordinances unless it's an emergency ordinance. Some charters don't require two reads, but yours does, so this is the first read. And that would be consistent for the next four items. But the first read of this is a basic component of probably every code of ordinances in Georgia, this first one, and this just is, it's a general provision section of your code, and it says that your code shall be known as the code of the City of Mableton, Georgia. It provides rules of construction, and these rules of construction are to provide definitions for when terms are used throughout your code. For example, it says that when cities use, it means the City of Mableton. City Council means the Mableton City Council. Charter means your charter. Code means your code. Just other definitions. OCGA means the official act of Georgia. So this is a very basic ordinance. It provides a general penalty section where it essentially says that if there's no penalty that's prescribed as you adopt ordinances, because in the life of your city, you will adopt thousands of ordinances, and it just says that if no penalty is prescribed, then it's just as allowed by law, and it kind of reiterates what the allowable penalties are. And if there's any questions, I can entertain questions on this item.
Council, is there any items of discussion or questions related to this ordinance?
The one question I had was section 1.1.7, it talks about general penalty and continuing violations. How does this code really coincide with some of the things that we have from an ethics perspective when we look at the ethics committee and the powers that they have?
So an ethics violation would not be a violation of your code in this sense. So it wouldn't be, these are your quasi-criminal violations. The ethics violation would just be a recommendation for action by the council, but it would not be something that would go before your municipal court, or you would be prescribed a penalty or type quasi-criminal punishment. So the two are completely separate.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comment or question related to this ordinance?
A lot of my comments are more of like a better definition and just kind of typos and stuff. Would that be better off in an email or something, or I don't know. It's like very, I don't want to say petty, it's important, but it's not critical to be.
And which definition?
Okay, so for example.
So if they're material in nature, then I would say yes. Section 2 and 3 does outline the ability for the attorney and the clerk to make, edits to typos or grammatical errors, punctuation, and the like.
I lost my spot. There was a couple definitions I wanted in here, but, never mind.
And keep in mind, this is first read, so you're more than welcome to submit it via email, and we can work through it. Okay? Anyone else? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close discussion and move along to the first read of the next ordinance.
This first read is the ordinance creating Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1, in general of the City of Mableton Code of Ordinances.
And Mayor and Council, this is again a first read of a second component of your code. And if you look at most city codes, and I think all cities in Cobb County, this is a component of their code of ordinances, but it's a general section where it just discusses administration in general. And it just basically says that your meeting time shall be prescribed as your charter provides, that if a meeting falls on a state or federal holiday, that the council may cancel or reschedule. It provides for document and records retention, and it just refers to the responsibilities to comply with the Georgia Open Records Act, as well as the responsibilities to comply with the Georgia Open Meetings Act. It talks about subpoenas for when the council sits as a judicial or quasi-judicial body pursuant to your authority under the charter. And then it includes a reimbursement and travel provision, which is what I spoke to earlier. So this just mirrors what your charter says, and that's that each of you have the council members $3,000 and the mayor $5,000 to spend each fiscal year with respect to reimbursements for carrying out your official duties. And then I also included a component for these reimbursements, because the charter doesn't really specify a process for submitting for reimbursement. It says that you get X amount, but it doesn't have a process. So I included subsections B and C, which just says reimbursement shall include items such as overnight travel, lodging, ground transportation, meals, and other incidental expenses incurred by the mayor or council member in connection with city business. Such allowance shall not include the costs associated with any state mandated or sponsored training, which has been pre-approved by the council. So that is your charter. It says that if there is state mandated or sponsored training, so that means training sponsored by the state of Georgia, that will not chip off of your reimbursement. And then as far as expense reports, it says that within 60 days of incurring and I modeled this off of just standard provisions that are within most cities, but it says within 60 days after incurring the expenditure that you would need to file with the finance director, city manager, or mayor a signed travel expense where you just provide evidence of the reimbursement, and that includes original receipts documenting any expense over $10, except for reasonable and customary out-of-pocket expenses such as tolls, valet services, gratuities, and federal mileage. So that's essentially it, and this is just a typical component of almost all code of ordinances that are in the state.
The only addition I would make is just when you reference like, say, section, page 2, 2.1.5, city business, it says as authorized in the charter. Can you put the reference section 2.13? Because if I ever look at this again and I was like reference the charter, I just want real quick reference.
Yes, absolutely. I'll make sure that's included
Appreciate it.
when it comes back for second read, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Attorney Walker, I also want to be, for some clarity here, in that same section where it talks about city business for the $5,000 for the mayor and $3,000 for the council, that is not limited to training or travel. Is that correct?
No, you are correct. That is, the only limitation is that it be actually or necessarily incurred, and that means that you put the money out instead of the city, and that it be in connection with your official duties.
So, for example, could that be a council member having a town hall in their district and funds related or costs related to that?
It absolutely can. I know that most cities will actually just create a council budget so that you don't have to get reimbursed for your town halls, and then as long as you don't exceed that council budget, the city will pay for it directly through its financial and procurement process. But if you don't have those processes in place, you could elect to use a portion of your allowance for that purpose.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'd like to go ahead and close the discussion on this and move forward to the next item of business, which is 8C, ordinance creating Chapter 7.
Yes, this is the first read for the ordinance creating Chapter 7, Taxes, Fees, and Assessments of the City of Mableton Code of Ordinances.
Are we making comments?
So, Mayor, this next ordinance is actually one that I'm very excited to put forth because a lot of the discussion tonight has been about just getting that initial seeding and that initial funding. And this ordinance comes after a lot of discussion and collaboration, just discussions with and meetings with the county, who was just so gracious to provide commissioner representation, the chairwoman, multiple employees, their attorneys. We had a very lengthy and very substantive meeting with the county, collaborations with the tax assessor who provided her staff, who was just very collaborative, just a lot of good, successful meetings and participation with the mayor and certain council members who were present, as well as meetings and collaborations with multiple utilities. So this is just essentially the seed for your initial revenue. The finance director, of course, would have to quantify it, but we do have a good amount of revenue that's commenced to start coming in July as a result of just multiple conversations. So essentially what this does is it puts in place vehicles for components of that initial revenue, and that would include it's a basic franchise fee component for franchises, and those franchises would include there's 3 essential franchises. They're going to be your power franchises, your cable franchises, and your natural gas franchises. So those are going to be the 3 components, and this essentially says that we encourage and we want to have a franchise agreement with you. And we've had a lot of feedback from the majority of the franchises. For example, we have Georgia Powers in the room tonight. If you could just raise your hand, I don't need you to speak, but. Okay, well, he was here earlier, so I know he spoke to me earlier, and he was just gracious that, we were just getting these processes in place. So Georgia Power is one of the utilities who is scheduled to give an influx of money, and they actually requested that they could do a 6-month advance. We only requested month to month, and they requested if they could give 6 months because it's just not practical for them to process month to month. It's too much unnecessary administrative work on their end.
The representative from Greystone Power is here as well, in back, Blake Doss.
I think we got the names mixed up, but that's.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, so essentially what this says to those utilities is that we want a franchise agreement. To the extent there's not one in place, you have to default to this ordinance. And to the extent there is one in place, then you default to your franchise agreement, because the best fit is one that the utility is happy with and the city's happy with. So we always encourage franchise agreements. But for example, Marietta does similar. Their code says that, look, if there's an agreement in place, we go by the agreement. If there's not an agreement in place, then we'll default to the ordinance. So that's the component of this. And then you have your insurance premium taxation. And just giving you a heads up, the insurance premium taxation, even though we are codifying this, it still takes processes to get this funding in place, and we will work with the State Department of Revenue. But this is just that initial step to work towards those processes. And that includes the financial institution tax, rental motor vehicle tax. And essentially, that's it as far as these initial taxes. And then we will supplement and amend this as we go along, but we're just requesting at least to confirm this initial influx of money that's anticipated for July, that you at a minimum put these ordinances in place. And also, you will need to have a second meeting to adopt this before June ends. You don't have to, but I just recommend, and I know one of the unfortunate things about transitioning and getting all these things in place is that you do have to often meet more frequently just to ensure a certain level of security with your ability to have this seed money to do the things that the charter anticipates and expects that you'll accomplish for the public. But I think it would benefit you to adopt this in June, so I would request that you conduct just a brief meeting towards the end of June, but before July hits, just to have a second read for this.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Attorney. Yeah, that was definitely something we want to get to, but having the first read is obviously the step towards that, so we can move with that. As you mentioned, that this ordinance is the default, if you will, it's the catch-all. But in the midst of this, we do have and will be working towards specific contracts with each of the service providers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we've had nothing but positive conversations, communications. Greystone has been just tremendous to work with. So is Georgia Power. COBB EMC. So far, there's been no hiccup in this process.
The only question I had, or the only one I wanted to bring up is, I don't see Austell gas.
Yeah, it's not listed in this package, but we have notified Austell Gas. We're notifying all of the organizations go through. So, do you want to speak to that as?
Yeah. So the purpose of having this catch-all is because you probably won't realize the entire extent, and that's unless you get an audit done or someone to come in and look and see who is actually in the right-of-way. You probably won't have the entirety just where you're just absolutely comfortable, at least for a year. We have the big ones who we know are there, but the reason that we put this catch-all in is that so regardless of who you contact or when the agreement is put in place, their obligation to pay would still commence at the same time as the other utilities.
Yeah, this gives us the authorization to collect from those. And if there's anywhere we have not identified, we'll keep working through those as well. Any other comment, questions, discussion on this matter? Councilwoman Mott? Okay. All right, here are no others. We can close discussion and move to item 8D, which is the ordinance on for granting franchises, which is the 10 that are listed here are the specific 10 ordinance granting franchises for those organizations. Again, there are at least one other, there may be some others there. But Madam Attorney, you can go ahead and give an overview. I don't know if there's anything more to add there, Clerk.
This is the first read of ordinances granting franchises, and our attorney, Walker Ashby, will summarize the 10 that we have listed on the agenda.
Yes, so the 10 that we have listed here, these are the documents that we have put in place. And it's first read now, and our plan is to further negotiate these. So some of these we have not even began. We began the initial level of contact, but we have not begun the substantive negotiations. But the plan is that by putting these on for first read, when we do finalize the agreement with the utilities and it's in a form that they're okay with and that I think that it's a form that you'd be okay with, then we would bring it back to you. And as we reach those with each utility, we'd bring it back, and then it would be available for adoption. At that point, we wouldn't have to go through the 2-read process because we've already had the first read today. So the goal is to hopefully within the next 30 days solidify all these agreements and be able to bring it back to you as soon as possible for consideration and approval.
Is everyone clear on that? So this is the boilerplate, if you will. We'll begin our negotiations. Redlining is necessary. Once we have these in completed state, we will be having transitional council meetings to approve these so we can initiate funding. Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
Just for, this is covering for all 10 of them, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so for the, I think it's the cable companies, AT&T, Comcast, on page 5 of every one of them, just change company to define, to match with the.
What the company is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comment, question, discussion? Hearing none, we'll close out discussion, and we will, I think, Madam Clerk, that takes us to item 10 on the agenda.
Okay, we earlier in the meeting moved the executive session to last. Discussion is, I don't believe we have any other discussion, none.
I think so.
And does the city attorney have any comments? No. And the city clerk does not have any comments. The city council, do you have any comments?
You can, Councilman Davis?
No.
Councilwoman Oladapo?
No, none for me. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jeffcoat?
No, not at this time.
Councilwoman Ock?
No comments from me.
Councilwoman Ferguson? What
I'll be a councilman today.
Sorry.
The only comment I have is we continue to grow. We continue to understand the processes that we need to go through. And I'm very, very pleased to be on this council with all of you guys. So I appreciate everything that you do to help me and help us grow as a city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Herndon?
No comment at this time.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I just want to thank all of you for continuing to attend our council meetings. The ability to be able to connect with you guys and have open discussion and dialogue is very important. You attending these meetings are important. So thank you for that. I also want to thank, again, Pastor Boyd and EpiCenter for allowing us to continue to have our council meetings here. And I also want to thank James Hammond with Icon Filmworks, who's here, who's also doing all of our film work. Ladies and gentlemen, this work is being done free of charge as a commitment to this city and to this community. I know we've had some discussions tonight about dollars and cents as it relates to budget, but we continue to be able to make this work right now because of the gratitude of people and business owners in this community that are supporting us. So I just want us to keep that in mind when we're talking about what we're doing, how we're able to make that happen. So thank you. I do appreciate it. With that said, Madam Clerk, I think we can take the next item, which is item 9. With that said, I would like to entertain a motion to move us to executive session.
I motion to move us to executive session.
I second the motion.
Thank you. At this point in time, we'll go into executive session for the specific purpose. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to, for the purpose of.
I need the purpose.
Yes. To amend that to go into executive session for personnel, real estate, and litigation. With that said, move the question. All those in favor of going into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. We'll move into executive session for litigation, real estate, and personnel purposes. Thank you. executive session?
All right, I think we'll move to close the executive session. I second it.
All those in favor of closed executive session say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, we close the executive session. With that, all of the business being completed, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I second that.
Motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Jeffcoat, seconded by Councilwoman Oladapo. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. We are adjourned.